Master Satyashishimar Divine Grace, founder of Iskana by Charnadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Granth Shrimadbhagavatam Ki, their most merciful Lordship Shri Shri Harikunja Bihari Ki, Shri Jagannath, Shri Baladev Mai Subhadra Ki, Shri Nataji, Shri Balagopa Ki, Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki, Nitai Go Prem. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the Lotus feet of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Yesterday we had 3 pages of purport. Today we have 1 paragraph. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Dharam Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Todayam Dhiraye Nasta Praisha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtiki. Offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, who with the torchlight of knowledge has opened my eyes, which were blinded by the darkness of ignorance. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. We are today studying from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11, Text 18. Varendram Raskritya Varenendram Raskritya Brahmanai Sashumangalai Brahmanai Sashumangalai Shankha Turya Nina Dena Sankhya Turya Nina Dena Brahma Goshena Chadrita Brahma Goshena Chadrita Pratyujagnu Rater Rista Pratyujagmu Rater Rista Pranayagita Sadvasa Pranayagita Sadvasa Varenendram Purakshritya Brahmanai Sashumangalai Shankha Turyani Nadena Brahma Goshena Chadrita Pratyujagmu Vratirista Pranayagata Sadvasa Varendram Purusakritya Varenendram Puraskritya Brahmanai Sashumangalai Brahmanai Sashumangalai Shankha Turyani Nadena Shankha Turyani Nadena Brahma Goshena Chadrita Brahma Goshena Chadrita Pratyujagmu Raterista Pranayagata Sadvasa Pratyujagmu Raterista Pranayagata Sadvasa
Varanendram Puraskritya Brahmanai Sachumangalai Shankha Turyani Nadena Brahma Goshena Chadrita Pratyujagmu Ratarista Pranayagata Sadvasa Varanendram Puraskritya Brahmanai Sachumangalai Shankaturya Niradena Brahma Goshina Jadrita Pratyu Jagmuratirista Pranaya Gata Sadvasa Varnanindram Paraskritya Brahmanai Sasumangalai Sankhya Turya Ninadena Brahma Goshina Chadrita Pratya Jagmu Ratarista Pranaya Gata Sadvasa Varanandram Parasritya Brahmanai Sasumangalai Shankaturya Ranandena Brahma Goshina Chadrita Pratya Jugma Vraterista Pranaya Gata Sadvasa Paranarindram Elephants on the auspicious mission.
Elephants on the auspicious mission.
Puraskritya, putting in the front. Brahmanai, by the Brahmins. Sasumangalai, with all auspicious signs. Shankha, conch shell. Turya, bugle. Ninadena, by the sound of. Brahmagoshena, by chanting the hymns of the Vedas. Cha and Adrita, glorified. Prati, towards. Ujagmu, proceeded hurriedly. Ratai, on the chariots. Drista, in cheerfulness. Pranayagata, saturated with affection. Sadvasa, all respectful. Paranandram Paraskritya Brahmanai Sasumangalai Sankaturya Ninadena Brahma Goshena Chadrita Pratyu Jagmurate Krishna Pranayagata Sadvasa. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. They hastened toward the Lord on chariots with Brahmins bearing flowers. Before them were elephants, emblems of good fortune. Conch shells and bugles were sounded, and Vedic hymns were chanted. Thus they offered their respects, which were saturated with affection. Please repeat. They hastened toward the Lord on chariots with Brahmins bearing flowers. Before them were elephants, emblems of good fortune. Conch shells and bugles were sounded, and Vedic hymns were chanted. Thus they offered their respects, which were saturated with affection. Purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Vedic way of receiving a great personality creates an atmosphere of respect, which is saturated with affection and veneration for the person received. The auspicious atmosphere of such a reception depends on the paraphernalia described above including conch shells, flowers, incense, decorated elephants, and the qualified Brahmins reciting verses from the Vedic literatures. Such a program of reception is full of sincerity on the part of both the receiver and the received. Om Jnanatamrantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshushunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I'm going to read the verse one more time. They hastened toward the Lord on chariots, with Brahmins bearing flowers. Before them were elephants, emblems of good fortune. Conch shells and bugles were sounded, and Vedic hymns were chanted. Thus they offered their respects, which were saturated with affection. Om Jnanatamrantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshushunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. This is revealing how much love the inhabitants of Dwarka had towards Krishna. And it is their qualification, that love that they had for Krishna is their qualification for living in Dwarka. I was looking through available apartments in Vrindavan the other day. Boy, I'll tell you, it's very inviting. I could live there on half of what I have coming in and still have half left over to support myself. Wow. Yeah. The way India is set up, that the monetary system is close to what our monetary system was 100 years ago. So everything is cheap there. But it's getting more and more as desire, lust, and these things creep in by Western influence. These things then take over the society, and then everybody then becomes entangled in the same pursuits that has caused the fall down of the people who are giving over to the whims of their minds and their desires to find this world a place of satisfaction for the senses of the body. I got into yesterday a little bit about the fact that while we are cooking, these foods that we are preparing are being given, in some cases, the entire life of the soul is being offered as a fruit or a vegetable, which contains seeds also. And in every seed is the soul. So this act of cooking, that for the most part all human beings need some form of food preparation in order to continue their existence on the planet. But the act of preparing it for the Supreme Person puts that person who is doing the preparing in a place of authorized position that they have been appointed to take part in by someone who is authorized to appoint them to take part in that service. So, on the one hand, in society as it's established now, cooking is not looked at as a very elevated situation to be in. As a profession, you might say, right? Short order cooks, working in a small restaurant or these places like that. However, in the case of the Brahmin, the place of the Brahmin who is preparing foodstuffs for Krishna, he's actually in the position to be able to liberate souls from this physical environment altogether. Every seed, within it, the force that enables it to reproduce is the soul. It is the life force originating from the breath of God. of the supreme original person, original in this universe, the first person in this universe, God, Krishna. Now, when I talk about levels and authorization, there's a difference between the authorization that is being given, passed down by the parampara system, which society is somewhat set up, all societies are set up with divisions within them and classes that the inhabitants consider to be the least advantageous all the way up to the most advantageous, being that which is rewarded the most. But the perspective we get from Krishna consciousness is a little bit different, because the importance and the value of life itself being revealed as that coming from the inside body of the Supreme Person himself, all life itself having more value than anything, actually, life itself. So the classes of people or the activities that people are engaging in from the perspective of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, combined with his love, the person of love, and the person from whom love is coming, Krishna and Radha in the same body of Lord Chaitanya, reveals to us the Dharma for this age by entering in the temple and cleaning the temple. After everybody else had done all their cleaning, Lord Chaitanya came around and cleaned more and left a bigger pile than they had everybody else had when he came behind them. But one might say, well, why would God put himself in such a subservient position? But it is to give us an example and to reveal to us the value in his own way, in Krishna's own perspective of what value he puts on what activities we engage in. So that cleaning a temple is certainly not looked at by most of society as that most elevated state of existence to be in, to have your stature in society as one who is favored by society, who is elevated and put into a position of leadership and these kinds of things. But all these perceptions in our minds of what is advanced, we should not let society taint our perspective of the way we see Lord Chaitanya himself, the superior most human being, the supreme most human being, revealing to us by example what it means to him, the kinds of activities human beings should involve themselves in. And so this classification that we have in our minds of the significant contribution being made by those members of society that are holding positions of leadership, by the engagement in the activities a devotee is naturally involved in Krishna consciousness, because he is involved in that process that liberates souls. So hand in hand, one devotee carrying out an activity that might be looked at by society as not that is such a great position to hold. But ultimately, because we are all joined together to bring the souls, the reality of liberation. It is all contributing to the same force. It's the same, this bhakti that Krishna is enabling us to engage in, which manifests in all different kinds of situations. You can be fixing a flat tire using the energy of bhakti. Now, fixing a flat tire also is not an engagement looked at by the wealthy of this world or the people thought to be wealthy. You can have wealth in the bank account and have poverty in your heart. By poverty, I mean no knowledge whatsoever of what is pleasing to God. That's real knowledge. And that is actually real wealth. Because knowledge and love and relationship with God is that which will carry one through any circumstances of life. But money is very limited. Money can buy material objects, but the soul does not live by the presence of material objects in this world. And even food and that which we, in our minds, think of ourselves to be subsisting and requiring for the continuance of our life here. The real means of finding life itself is through that association developed with the original person, Krishna. In that relationship, we see all of these inhabitants of Dwarka having with Krishna developed prior to Krishna coming back. They've had this even prior to that life. And we also, we've had this relationship with Krishna prior. And so now, this chanting that we're engaging in this activity, it's an act of prayer that is being initiated by Krishna as the Dharma for the age. And also in society, even now, the act of praying can even be looked at as a weakness by some who are thinking there to be no supreme force that governs and controls everything. Atheists and people who are of that mind look at those who are taking religious activities to be their responsibility. They are looking at these people as living a life expressing a weakness in their inability to believe that they are themselves having to carry out their lives for themselves, by themselves. And so belief in God in this age is being looked at not as a glorified situation to be in. But we see by Lord Chaitanya's activities revealing to us what is pleasing to him. So the devotee makes up in his mind who he's going to please and who he's going to serve. And that will be the determining factor of his next situation after this life has accomplished its purposes. See, Lord Chaitanya, in effect, did away with the caste system as it was in India at that time. And to some extent, I think this is still going on in some regions of India, where it is believed that if a person is born into a certain class of society, then it is deemed that they will be in that class until they leave their bodies. They don't get out of being a Sudra or a Vaishya or a Kshatriya or a Brahmin. You are what you are and you're born with it and that's it. But Lord Chaitanya came and brought a different perspective on the development of character required by human beings in order to be put into a class of being beneficial for the furtherance of society. Because people who are not engaged in activities for the development of spiritual qualities in their lives are leading lives that are not for the furtherance of the human race. And if we're not working to further the human race, then we're in effect slowing down the progress that could be made with your help. If everybody's helping, then it makes the job much easier. And if everybody is required to do a job, then those that are not taking part in are delinquent in their responsibilities. They're not putting forth what this human form of life is being given to us to put forth. So this responsibility is not being recognized by society either. You can do whatever you want. You can serve whatever purpose you want as long as it doesn't break the laws of society. So with that, we have to know, what do we want in life? And as people learn and get what they want in life, they come to learn what value the desires we create in our life have for us by the end result of having achieved those achievements or those possession of those things in this world that we've hoped for. In this day and age, almost necessary for people to have a means of transportation that can move them great distances in very short periods of time, as compared to the societies of past, when 93% of the population is engaged in farming, because they all take it upon themselves to have to produce food for themselves. The distance to get to work is their backyard. So they don't have to travel 20, 30 miles away from home to work. But when the seeds are planted and there's food enough for everyone, then the time doesn't demand so much of the human being that is being demanded by modern society today. Not only that, but in our run towards trying to make things easier for ourselves by the production of machinery, production of these fertilizers that they're using now, we are producing far inferior vegetables, fruits and vegetables, than were produced if we analyze it by nutritional value. Now, I agree that they are producing the kinds of fruits and vegetables they want to produce to appeal to the eyes. They grow apples to turn red. This is how they breed fruits and vegetables, to appeal to the eye of human beings so that they will buy it, not to make it healthy for you. It's totally a commercial food, which is the sustenance of life. Like life itself has been turned into a commodity to be sold. And so with that, it's not being realized, the value of what it is, the life that it is meant to be an offering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that every form of life is getting benefit in its offering to God. Everything that has life on the planet by the Brahmins has a means of being engaged in this bhakti. By the Brahmins' activities. But the Vaishyas if the society continues without Brahman's activities, there will be no liberation for souls, is the problem. And when everyone can engage, no matter what grade or level of profession you are in, without disturbing the very acts you're engaged in, why not turn our attention towards directing that energy we are towards the ultimate aim of developing pure love for one another and pure love for the source from which all is coming. Everything is coming to us from love itself. And so in order for us to be able to realize the fullness of that love, then we reciprocate by expressing that love that we have in appreciation for that which we have received. And in so doing, and everybody taking part in that, the whole human experience will be relationships of family. Everyone we meet be like another family member, brothers, sisters, aunts and uncles, and people taking positions of leaders, fathering, mothering, protecting, caring, guiding, teaching. These are positions that require knowledge, and that knowledge that is suprememost is that which delivers the soul from its bondage and the prison house that these physical bodies are. Rather than seeing these physical bodies as the prison house that they are, most people are looking at these physical bodies as a way to enjoy the things in this world. And the problem with that is these things don't have anything to offer because they are all of a temporary nature. And the soul itself, knowing eternalness, will not be satisfied till it is itself embraced by that eternal purpose, engaging itself in the energy in order to direct that energy towards the source. And that expression of directing that energy towards the source is love. And when we direct our energy, our attention, our learning, our application of the teachings we have learned towards love itself, the source of life, then we get love. And then we find the real treasure of life. Love is the treasure to be sought after. And in that searching for love, everything else is provided. Because you can't find love without giving love. Can't find love without giving love. So this is our longing. In all of our pursuits, our longing is for love. But the perspective of what love is has been polluted. We have determined love to be some experience of the physical body, and not knowing that love is a spiritual force that the soul itself is made of, the substance of the soul, this Satchidananda that we are. It is the substance of love, and complete knowledge is contained in that. So the giving of that knowledge is an expression of love, because true knowledge is that of love itself. To know love is to have true knowledge. And it is by the application of the principles of giving, caring, providing, protecting, that love is manifest in this world. And if we are all engaged in that, then our experience will be supreme, divine, excellent. And we will all be working for the same purpose. And that's what Krishna is giving all these literatures for. And not as judgments against us, but as we read these glorious literatures, they're storybooks, but made in such a way that the absorption of the knowledge in them gives us fundamental truths to base our lives, the function of our lives upon, the purpose for living. It gives us a future to look forward to with a hope that this can be established in everyone's heart, that love for God can be established in everyone's heart. And as we do, then we see all of our activities have to do with the liberation of all the souls that we come in contact with. As low on the level of life that we may think of these living entities to be, and even the bugs are affected. The birds, the bees, the elephants, the trees. Everything that a devotee touches becomes purified, so that the living being as a soul that lives for itself, its life, everything it touches is contaminated. And that living entity that chooses to rather live its life for the sake of the one who is giving love, who is the source of all love, then everything that living being comes in contact becomes purified. And what is the problem in the world today is that there is more contamination going on than there is purification. There is no desire for purification. And the contamination is happening to the minds. It is. We have been accused of brainwashing. But then if we are not to wash our brains, what is left then? We have only dirty brains left for there to be. This brainwashing is described like a form of hypnotism. But in effect, all the teaching that's going on, what is hypnotism? Hypnotism is a person who has the ability by persuasion to convince their client or patient or subject, whatever position you want to put them in. They have to have trust in that person that's convincing them of abilities they have that they do not know they have, in some cases. For example, to quit smoking. A person can be conditioned with hypnotism to stop smoking. A person can be convinced by hypnotism every time they hear a bell to start whistling. Or they can be hypnotized that every time a certain voice speaks, then they should laugh or something. Because this power of persuasion, it works subconsciously without us realizing. We are acting out desires that we have developed previously. And the result we are living in now is due to our previous desires. That we have been persuaded in some cases by other people that were good for us to develop the desires for. I'm telling you to develop the desire to love God, to experience love. There are people now persuading people how to steal, how to kill, how to do so many things, acts against society. And those people do not know, because society is not training children from the first preliminary stages of developing the psyche of the mind. They have to be taught the end result of breaking the laws that exist in the universe and are constant. Laws of God don't change like laws of men do. As men seek to find what is good for society, God already knows. He's already established from the beginning what is best for society. And now all mankind has to do is abide in those kinds of activities, and he will experience the highest forms of happiness and satisfaction and pleasure, and know that everything is provided. Everything needed for the soul to experience bhakti, it is there at every moment. We just have to turn our attention towards it. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita how to completely turn your mind off to everything that's going on in the world. You find a quiet place, a sitting place that's just comfortable for you to be able to sit in a long enough time to concentrate. Then you turn your inner focus, move your eyes pointing towards the end of the tip of your nose. They are finding in research being done in these very most elevated colleges and universities in our society that this movement of the eyes has to do, it's directly connected to memory. 5,000 years ago, in a discussion with a warrior on a battlefield that was about to take on a battlefield in which a battle was about to take place with about an hour or two before, Krishna explained to his most dear warrior how to concentrate by moving his eyes direction towards the end of his nose. And they are presently in colleges by research finding out that this stimulates parts of the brain used for memory. Same thing with medicinal properties found in the foods that are on the planet that have been available since time immemorial. These seeds that we're taking part in nourishing our bodies with now are the offspring of that which has existed since the first day that life was put on this planet. The original seeds were there, the offspring of those original seeds now are coming down to us to this day. We are now living at the edge of spiritual evolution of the human race, which was at one time more advanced than it is now, and by its own declaration of how great it is going backward. By setting the standards for what greatness is lower than what the previous standard was. Because without the knowledge of the fact that we have false egos, and these false egos is the problem. We think satisfying the false ego is the solution, but it's actually the problem. And we're all with our false egos running to please ourselves, and we're knocking up against everybody else who's trying to please themselves. And none of this is pleasing to Krishna, who is the one we're supposed to be aiming our energies toward. As we fight against ourselves like little children, immature in our acts, then we move backwards. It's like I used to listen to an old Christian musician walking backwards down the stairs trying to get higher. This is the course of humanity that humanity has chosen to take, walking backwards down the staircase to get higher. With our face forwards, we're walking backwards and hoping to get higher up the stair. This is society's development of the psyche and of the concept of I, me, and mine, and how much significance and importance we put on that above what we should be putting it into. Who, the person we should be putting it into. Rather than ourselves, we should put it into the one who knows everything, the one who is all-powerful, and that we know to be Krishna. These studies we find to be so significantly important that no matter what age we attain to, they have something for us as a treasure to gain by. And so that is why the Hare Krishnas spend their mornings deep in meditation, deep in study, deep in realization of the message for now. The message for now is the Dharma for the age that we are living in. And this now lasts for 432,000 of our years. That's the now of the Dharma of now. That will be the Dharma for that long. Dharma will last that long. When we ourselves, all of us, are in the eternal realm, the entirety of our existence, which more than 8 million species of life, because that's this time around. We don't know how many times we've been circling through, how many universes we've been in. This will all look like a flash, like the twinkling of an eye, that it happened in a moment. As we're on our way to serve Krishna in some way, we get distracted by Lord Vishnu. And by taking upon our vision a pleasure to enjoy the beauty of Lord Vishnu's body, he sucked us right in. Got sucked right into that body. Wanting to be the enjoyer. This is the Maya body. This is how we get into Krishna's body. We came out of Krishna's body because we were in Krishna's body. How you get into Krishna's body? You want to be Krishna. You want to be the enjoyer. And so now, with the understanding that we are not the enjoyer, and we aim our direction towards the enjoyer, then we come to know what enjoyment is. And he, by the process he's given us to follow, he purifies the senses, purifies the mind, gives us things to think about that will bring relief, satisfaction, happiness, purity, truth, and substance of truth that will enable us to be authorized to give that truth to others. Not broken truth, not mistruths, not half-truths, but real substance of truth that liberates the soul and gives the soul a vision for all souls to be liberated. You have the ability now, every soul you come in contact with, through the knowledge that the Supreme Person is giving you within about His very presence with you, enables you to bring that knowledge to others. And that is the liberating truth. By this chanting of Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare, and making that the most important activity in our day to engage in for the rest of our lives. For the rest of your life. Look at this liberating sound vibration as a means to get back into the arms of God, to embrace God With your mind, you can embrace the teachings of God, and in this way develop love for God by realizing what God's teachings, what the power behind God's teachings has to liberate souls from the bonds that we have found ourselves in because we have chosen to go our own ways. We have to keep remembering we are here because we've chosen to be here. And we can get out by choosing to get out. And so Krishna gives us the way to get out. And just by practicing that, this glorious experience of well-being, comfort even. Find a comfortable place to experience the presence of Krishna and live in such a way that he would be pleased to look upon your life. And he gives instructions on how to do that in all these stories that we read. Making the law a pleasant experience also to study. If you talk to lawyers, actually, if you knew someone who became a lawyer before they were a lawyer and talked to them after they were a lawyer, you would see two different people. Because the perspective of life given to those who are practicing, quote unquote, law of this society is so contrary to Krishna's teachings. By searching for the laws of men, they are denying themselves the laws of God, and they don't know it. Because the laws of men are constantly changing, and the laws of God constantly stay the same. The Dharma may change, but each Dharma gives the same result. So we have the greatest fortune to look forward to, and we have to know how fallen people are to have the impetus to want to go out and give this treasure to people. Because it's tough when you're put in a circumstance where people don't care. They don't want to develop spiritually. They don't even want to know what it is. All right, well, you get what you want then. But that's what we can have. We don't have to worry ourselves and push and pressure our perspectives on others because we know the value of it. And if you have something of value that nobody else knows the value of, doesn't change its value. And if you're holding it, you don't have to give it if they don't want it. And it's there for the taking. The truth, the substance of Krishna's knowledge, and the ability to commune with the thought transference of God's mind into our mind. That's what Krishna consciousness is. It's allowing God's ways and God's way of thinking to actually occur in our process of thinking. And so, if you want happiness, we look to the most happy soul there is and find out what makes them happy. And then do that, and then we'll be happy. And that's what he's giving us advice to do. Do the things that God does to make himself happy, and we'll be happy. So Krishna, this chanting, Krishna has favorite verses also. Krishna has favorite melodies. Krishna has, just like we do. But he treats it all equally. Treats it all equally. So it's a mystery to us. And then he reveals to us from within. It's the consciousness and experience of consciousness that he gives us when we follow the activities that proves to us. So I can prove to myself that there's a God, but I can't prove it to you. You have to prove it to yourself that there is a God and that he is giving us this as a Dharma. So the only way you can do that is by chanting Hare Krishna. And the only way you're going to experience what the instructions are is that you have to chant this every day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. In your mind, reserve this as the most important sound vibration your tongue can be used to engage in. And the more you do, the more benefit you will get by doing it. And the more you restrict yourself and listen to the mind will make reasons and excuses, and see that is a means of distinguishing between the mind and the self, the soul. Because it's not the soul that's coming up with ways to avoid engaging in spiritual activities. It is the mind. It's the mind that got us here also. It's the mind that we form pleasurable, we put into those categories of what we like. And it is the mind we use that to do it with. So if we put what Krishna likes in our mind to be what we like, then we will get that experience also. And pretty soon it will be so hard to restrain from what experience is happening. You become so happy, you can't hold it back. And then sometimes you become so appreciative, it turns into tears. Because you learn the value of truth, the value of knowledge, the value of having the opportunity to learn every day and have this absolute knowledge available constantly that provides satisfaction of life unlike anything else. Unlike anything else. And we're seeing and being able to experience even from the mistakes of others without having to go through those same mistakes ourselves. What a great, pleasurable experience life can be in a position where so much is made available to us like it is. We're very fortunate souls indeed. Any comments, any questions, any realizations anybody would like to share? Jai. Shrimadbhagavatam, ki jai. Srila Prabhupada, ki jai.